Did you know a sensory diet can benefit a child's focus and behaviour? Pop your answer in the comments. What is a sensory diet? Basically, it's an individualized program that is set up to be done throughout the day that involves sensory activities. These programs are usually set up for children who have sensory input needs, and they usually involve things like sensory activities, sensory toys, and sensory things that target systems like the vestibular system and the proprioceptive system. Are you finding supporting a child or student with sensory needs challenging? Don't worry, you're not alone. I struggle to support my child with sensory needs on some days. There are many challenges that we face in trying to support a child with sensory needs. Communication is one of those challenges, especially if you have a child who has autism or who is nonverbal. When you have communication challenges, you are not able to communicate your sensory needs to somebody else, to someone who can help you, to someone who can support you. When you can't communicate those input needs to somebody, it becomes very challenging to problem solve what needs addressing, what sensory need do we need to give input to, what sensory system needs targeting. So communication is a big challenge when supporting children with sensory needs. Another challenge is behavior. Some children respond to the smallest of changes, whether it be changes to the texture of their clothing or their food, changes to their school routine or their home routine. Even if that change is minute and minuscule, this change can trigger a response that seems extreme, adverse, completely out of normal to what you would expect. So behavior is also a very, very big challenge that we face in trying to support children with sensory needs. Sensory needs can have an impact on things like a child's ability to socialize. It can also have an impact on their ability to learn in a learning environment or a learning context. And it can also have an impact on the child's development, especially if the sensory needs go on for a long period of time and there's no support for those needs. Sensory needs can also impact on your lifestyle. If you have a child with sensory needs, you may find that you need to adapt and adjust your lifestyle. I know for us, we've had to make some adjustments with our son who has extreme sensory sensitivities. We can't go out to places that might be incredibly noisy. We can't always get together with friends and family to celebrate big things because often there's too many people around, and this overloads the sensory system. So sometimes we might have to completely change our lifestyle, and other times we might have to adapt our lifestyle so that we can still do things like celebrating with the family, but we maybe don't necessarily need to make a point of going to the really loud restaurant for dinner because we feel like going out somewhere, if it's going to cause sensory overload for our child. So changes to lifestyle can be another challenge when dealing with supporting children who have sensory needs. Classroom accommodations for children with sensory needs can be a challenge for teachers. Trying to adapt your classroom structure, your classroom routine, your classroom setup can be challenging when you have to consider not just the child with sensory needs, but the impact of those changes to the other students as well. And trying to find a balance between supporting the rest of your class as well as supporting a child in your class with sensory needs is huge. Proprioceptive activities target coordination and they help with body awareness. So activities at home that will target the proprioceptive system are things like grabbing the groceries out the car and bringing them inside, grabbing a blanket or a trolley board and placing heavy objects on those and pulling them or pushing them around the room. Even getting outside and getting on the trampoline at home can help to target your proprioceptive system. In classrooms, to target the proprioceptive system, you can use things like animal walks when you transition from one topic to the next. You can use things like the playground equipment that's outside, taking a 10-minute brain break and shooting out to the playground and climbing all over that can target your proprioceptive system. Also doing things like pushing up against a wall is another way to target your proprioceptive system within a classroom. Vestibular activities are things that involve rocking. So things like a rocking chair. They involve swaying from side to side, back and forth. It can involve bouncing and swinging. These activities basically target our balance system, which is the area that the vestibular system focuses on. Tactile activities engage our touch sense. This can be done through using things like Play-Doh, sand, water, and anything that's textured. When it comes to targeting our visual system, this can be done through calming videos. So videos that show water gently running through a stream, a waterfall cascading down, things like that can be done through watching mindful videos. It can also be done through visual puzzles. So it's another good system to target to help with children who have sensory needs. Some other things to add into a sensory diet are targeting things like our auditory system. So we target our auditory system through things like music, white noise, calming sounds, things like that, nature sounds. So we need to be targeting our auditory systems on top of our visual systems and our tactile systems. It's also a good idea to incorporate things that target your oral system as well. So things for kids to chew on, like chewable necklaces, chewing gum, giving foods, maybe if your child's not food sensitive, that have different textures, like carrot sticks that can be crunchy, but then a muffin that can be soft. So having some different textures like that to stimulate the oral senses. Share your sensory diet with us. In our house, our sensory diet involves using things like the crash pad, the sensory swings, the trampoline outside, or an array of fidget toys that target different systems. We also use headphones and listen to audiobooks or calming music as part of our sensory diet. Thanks for listening. Like and subscribe for more.